He went from constructing hospitals to building up people. His incredible journey is just ahead on the Jeff Crilley Show.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, as many of you know, I spent a career in TV news. I did TV news for 25 years, and then I quit to start my PR firm, and it's been one of the best decisions I ever made. So I'm fascinated by people's journeys, especially when it's a right turn. And I can't think of anybody who took more of a right turn than Chris Robinson. You went from building hospitals and medical facilities to now coaching and counseling, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I was 35 years in the construction industry, and I reached a point in that career where I started thinking about what's next in my life, and how can I help to serve people and be a part of healing in the community, and that led me on a track into counseling.
Now, when you did this, were your friends and your wife, I don't know if you're married, did she say, "Are you crazy," or were they supporting you?
You know, my wife is my rock.
Yeah.
She was the one who said, "You need to do this." You know, because I started thinking about it, I realized what was going to be involved, I recognized what it was going to mean financially for us, and she said, "Do it." And I asked her a couple of times, "Are you sure you're behind this? Because it's going to mean a lot of change for us." And she said, "Do it."
Wow. Well, you clearly are on a mission. We found a great video that we'd like to share right now.
I've been in the construction industry for 33 years. I don't think I really had a tension between construction and shifting into counseling. I would say it might actually be the opposite, that my career in construction has prepared me for counseling. I've learned through my career in construction about discernment. I think that I've gained wisdom. I've gained greater understanding of people, and that really feeds right into what counseling is about. And so it was about 5 years ago that I started thinking about what God had in store for me. This idea of helping men, counseling men, kept on coming back to me. But the more I prayed about it, the more it became clear that this is where God was leading me. And if I was truly going to follow the calling, then I needed to commit myself to it. Yeah, the initial need that I saw, what I witnessed on these Emmaus weekends as a table leader, is that there were men coming into those weekends looking for something. I heard the struggle, I heard the pain, I saw men break down. And it was not until I was in my 40s that I went on the walk to Emmaus and really started to understand grace and forgiveness. And when you recognize that and you go through that transformation of you know, truly accepting Christ into your life and recognizing the sacrifice that was made for us, you can't help but become more merciful towards others. You know, when you're following your spiritual gift, you need to be prepared to be uncomfortable, because God is not always going to just lead us into a comfort zone. He led me out of a comfort zone to be in His service. And so I think that what happens over time is, although it was uncomfortable, I've become comfortable with being uncomfortable. I've been a work in progress. I've been transformed through my spiritual journey. God has literally changed the man that I am. He's changed my heart, and He's changed my level of compassion, and I think I do show much more mercy now than I used to.
Well, I'm really impressed with your journey, especially because there's a right brain, left brain thing going on. And you know, while there's a science attached to building buildings, and it's complicated,
right.
People are 10 times more complicated than building buildings.
Yeah, feelings and emotions aren't really the key factor in building a building.
Right, right. So what is that like? I mean, how rewarding is it to work with people and have breakthroughs?
Oh, it's wonderful. And I said in the video that the construction really prepared me for counseling in certain ways. Because one of the things is it made me aware of how important relationships are. In any business, in any personal setting, relationships are so critical. And I walked away from that industry with a greater appreciation, a greater understanding of that, and then recognizing that a lot of people come into counseling because of broken relationships or hurt in relationships from when they were much younger.
Well, you have a best-selling book that we're going to put up on the screen so people can check it out. Come On Man, Taking on the Challenges Faced by Man. Tell us more about the book and what caused you to write it.
So the idea behind the book is that when I prayed about this process of going into counseling, and I recognized that counseling men is really important. And so I went back and I got my master's degree, and I was going through the internship, and every professor and every professional that I spoke to said, wow, that is really a noble cause to do counseling of men. Good luck, because you might go broke doing it. Men don't come to counseling, right? So I've been thinking about this idea and thinking and thinking. You say, yeah, but I know how deep the hurt is. I know how great the need is. So maybe what I need to do, if I can't get men to come into my office, is to write a book, which I never expected to do, and just started out listing the chapters on what are the struggles that men deal with, and trying to tap into every one of those through some personal stories, through stories of others, and things that I've learned through this career in counseling of how to reach out and how to help men change a direction. And the title of Come On Man, you know, we were so used to hearing that from a point of ridicule, mockery. If we go back to Chris Berman on ESPN and doing his sports bloopers, it was like an indelible image of just foolishness that we saw in athletic performance that was demeaning. And I said, what if we flipped that? What if we flipped that ridicule into an invitation to connection? And what if you recognize that you're not on an island? You're not alone with the issues that you deal with. All of us have issues.
Wow. Right?
All men, you, me, everybody who's watching has got something that they struggle dealing with.
Yes. Well, everything that I'm reading is that, you know, we've got this pandemic, but there's going to be a second pandemic, and that is a mental health pandemic. That you have all of these remote workers, you have the stress of the economy, you have the fear of losing a loved one or getting sick yourself. What are you seeing on the front lines?
I'm seeing it already. The isolation is having a real impact on people. It's having a real impact on marriages. I'm seeing more couples now because they have been stuck in the same home for, you know, all day, all night, 24/7, when they're used to having separation, they're used to having connection with others, and so they start to take that out on each other. And then there are those who deal with addictions who are being really hard hit by this pandemic, because the main thing in recovery from addiction is to be connected with people, to have a community, have support. And what this pandemic has done to a degree has taken that away. We have our Zoom sessions, but those aren't the same as sitting next to each other and making real eye contact and feeling the presence of another human being and the support.
Chris, I think we're making a lot of strides. You know, certainly 20 years ago, if you said, I'm going to see my counselor, people would say, ooh, what, are you going crazy? It doesn't have that stigma, but for some men, they still might feel uncomfortable. What would you say to the person who says, I probably need Chris, but gosh, do I want to go see a counselor? What would you say to that person?
I would say listen to your wife, you know. Listen to your wife. If your wife is telling you need to go see a counselor, then you need to do that. But a lot of what I'm seeing, Jeff, is that this mental health profession of counselors, therapists, has been dominated primarily by females. That there were very few men counselors and therapists, and I've, in my classes, in my internships, in my practicums, as I was preparing for having my own practice, that's what I was finding, is that I was the only guy. And men would tell you, hey, I'm not interested in going and listening to somebody who asked me if I was a color, what color would I be?
Right.
And for them to be able to think about going to see a guy who spent 35 years in the construction industry and who is not going to, you know, ask them to do something that is so touchy and feely that it makes them uncomfortable, because men are not that comfortable with expressing feelings. We can get to that point if we learn and we focus on that. But I think that for men to have an option to go to a male counselor, somebody who gets them, somebody who they don't feel like they have to put on a mask or that they can't be vulnerable with, is a big help and part of the invitation.
Wow. Well, Chris, I can talk to you forever. We're almost out of time. So final thought for the audience, and then we're going to put your website up. What would you like to leave them with?
You know, I think the main thing is try to be connected to people. Find relationships. A lot of what I talk about in my book is about life balance. And I think that it's so easy for our life to get out of balance because we feel a certain commitment to work, or sometimes we feel even a certain commitment to volunteering. I know people who get burned out volunteering at the church. Look for life balance. Spend time with the people that you love, and recognize that connection is the most important part of your life. Connecting with people that you can share your feelings with and that you can be vulnerable with.
Wow, Chris, thank you for blessing us with your wisdom and your just kind heart.
My pleasure.
You bet. We're going to put the website up so people can get in touch. It's summitcounseling.info is the website. Chris Robinson, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time. That was beautiful.